know this man has been given information of a higher order. It reminds me of being in the world but not of it. We are here to function in this world as effectively as we possibly can. And in the course of doing that, we have to cope with everything that's going on around us, our own reactions, all the people that we have to deal with. Michael says that management of people is, the problems are in our own reactions and dealings with people. And the more we understand ourselves, the more we are able to deal more effectively with others. So we're here tonight to take a look at how we live our lives and how we view ourselves. Wonderful insights are going to take place. One of the things that will be stressed is that we take 100% responsibility for our lives, and that is a grand undertaking. But he will so convince you and sell you that this is the only way to go, that you'll just be so excited to get out there tonight and go home and start pulling up the parts that you have left behind. I went to that seminar to learn some things about my own sense of responsibility. And I'll tell you, I learned some things that I hadn't intended to go to learn. And I'm glad I know them. We're all going to hear those things because Michael will be speaking, but the intelligence of life is going to be teaching us wonderful information tonight. And it will be coming through this wonderful person. He is one of the dearest, most loving, sensitive, understanding people that I have met in my life. And it's with such joy, excitement, anticipation that I want you to help me welcome Michael Durst.
We go through a lot of drama within our teams, a lot of drama. And I just wanted to isolate this. There was something called the drama triangle, which Steve Cartman came up with, and I thought that it was absolutely brilliant. Steve found out that in any television show, the three roles the main characters play are the persecutor, the rescuer, or the poor, helpless victim. The bad guys, the good guys, the people it happens to every week. Persecutor, rescuer, victim. What Steve also found out was something fascinating. If the bad guys are always the bad guys, the good guys are always the good guys, same people get victimized week after week, pretty soon people stop watching the show. It gets real boring. Nobody wants to watch it any longer. So to create dramatic action, sometimes the persecutor becomes the victim, or the victim turns around and becomes a persecutor. Or the persecutor becomes a rescuer, the rescuer becomes a persecutor, or the rescuer becomes a victim, or the victim becomes a rescuer. There has to be a switch to create dramatic action. So we have that switch that occurs. Now, we can watch this on television, or we can live it in our own personal lives. Did you ever notice that? Let's say that John Jr. is a very successful young systems analyst. He's 27 years of age. He goes home to talk to his mom and dad. Junior and Senior are sitting in the living room. They're having a conversation. Junior says, "Hey, Dad, I just bought 100 shares of XYZ Corp stock." Dad says, "Are you crazy with everything that's going on in the economy? How could you do something so stupid?" Dad, of course, is the persecutor. Son gets to be the victim. Okay. Traditional role, enter the mother. What is her traditional role at this point, folks? The rescuer, right? She comes in to rescue her poor, helpless 27-year-old son by saying, "Now, John, I think Junior's old enough to make his own decisions." Great. Now we have a full house. Watch, however, because she is about to become the victim because the victim is going to persecute her. Did you ever notice that? She comes in and says, "Now, John, I think Junior's old enough to make his own decisions." Junior stands up and says, "Can't we have a man-to-man discussion without you butting in constantly?" Now, she's the victim. Her son is the persecutor. Dad can't stand to see his wife in a victim position. He rescues her by persecuting the persecutor. "Sit down. Don't you ever talk to your mother that way again." Right? Interesting how the switches take place. Now, some of you know this. You can go home tonight and watch the drama triangle in your home. Some of you go home tonight, "Hey, honey, look at this. This is me. This is your mother. Look, this is the drama." Or the classic story, the guy can hardly wait to get home at night, tell his wife how he's been persecuted all day, the poor, helpless victim. Of course, he wants to be rescued by his spouse, right? Oh, honey, sit down, let me get you a drink. Relax for a while. Who is he typically greeted by, however? Besides, yeah, a persecutor or another victim. She can say, you think you had a bad day, Buster? Listen to my victim stories, right? Now, if she was home with little kids, she could still play out victim. I wish you talked to those kids that have been persecuting me all day. By the way, she said to the kids, you wait till the persecutor gets home. He'll get you for that one, right? So what's he do? Oh, now I've got to persecute the kids when I wanted to be the victim. Goes in, lets the kids have it. She comes in and says, well, I didn't want you to be that mean to him. Come here, sweetheart. That's where he goes out and has 1 or 8 beers while looking for someone to understand him, right? Tune in tomorrow, folks, for another exciting episode of As the Stomach Turns. It goes on and on and on. Now, the problem with this, of course, is it's based on some misconceptions. How much responsibility do victims take for what's going on in their life? Zip. None. By definition, I'm just a poor, helpless victim. Persecutors like to take on 200% of it. That's the old style boss. Remember that one? If you don't show up on time, I'll write you up for that. I will force you to do a good job. I will take on my 100. I will force you to take on your 100%. Rescuers also love to play it from 200% of the responsibility. Oh, poor baby, let me help you. You know, that's the new style boss. You ever notice that? I have an open door policy. If you have any trouble, you just come and see me, because I'm here to rescue you, poor, helpless victim, right? I now call that style of boss the Mighty Mouse manager. Here he is. He's on his way, Mighty Mouse to save the day, comes down, swooping around, and everybody goes, who was that masked mouse anyway? The rescuer style boss. Now, there's a problem with this, and I've talked to a lot of American Red Cross folks. How many people in this room prefer to be a rescuer rather than a persecutor or victim? Let me see the rescuers in the room. Rescuers, sure, of course. I mean, the whole corporation is based on rescuing, right? 2 bits of bad news, rescuers. First off, if you rescue people, it's interesting. Rescuers attract victims. That's the first bit of bad news. You literally attract victims. Did you ever notice that? I mean, you attract these people. Walk around the streets at night, people hit up, hey man, can I have a buck to go home? You know, that it's like we have a neon sign. I rescue victims. Hit up on me. We attract these people. I used to be such a good rescuer. I could take a flight, sit down next to the person next to me. Hi, how you doing? People would cry on every flight I was on. I honestly got, at one point in Evanston, Illinois, I went up to a stranger and said, hi, how you doing? I'm suicidal. Oh, good. Just thought I'd come over and say hi. Right? Bosses who rescue their staff members end up getting persecuted by the same people. What we want to do, of course, is to get out of the drama so we can have something called satisfaction. We need to give up our victim roles and our concepts of being a victim, plus the persecutor and rescuer, simply because it's ineffective. Think about it for a moment. The more drama that's taking place on your team because of any of the isms, the more drama, the lower the productivity. The less the drama, the higher the productivity. If you've worked on a highly synergistic team, where everyone respected the differences and the diversity and so on, if you worked on a highly effective synergistic team, you didn't go through a lot of drama. You didn't have time for drama. You were too busy producing results. And yet, if you've ever worked on a team that wasn't highly synergistic, it was one story after another. Hey, did you hear about so-and-so and what they did to so-and-so? It is amazing. Drama wastes more time and more energy than any other single factor within this organization. More time and energy is wasted. If you're going through drama on your job and in your team, you go home at night absolutely exhausted. Days of our lives at the American Red Cross, you know, totally exhausted. If you're going through drama in your home life, you show up at work absolutely exhausted that next day because it drains every bit of energy you have. Time wasted, you bet it wastes a lot of time because everybody has to report on the latest drama within the organization. Did you hear what so-and-so said to so-and-so? Wastes a lot of time. I had a friend recently say to another friend, has your wife recovered from her surgery yet? I said, God, I don't think so. She still talks about it. You know, notice what's going on here. We do talk a lot about the drama. However, if your relationships are working, there's nothing to talk about. If your shoes fit, you don't feel them. If they don't fit, you have plenty to talk about. So how do we go beyond it? Take responsibility. Take responsibility. Don't play helpless victim. Let other people take responsibility. One of the ways out of the victim or the rescuer position is to serve others by getting them in touch with their 100% of the responsibility. That's where you go to your boss with solutions rather than with problems. Here's what I think we ought to do. Also, stop the persecuting by coming up with clear-cut agreements at the front end of a relationship, clearly defining what is the job, how are we going to behave toward one another, how are we going to be rather than persecute. Very important to come up with clear-cut agreements at the front end. One of the things that effective teams do, and I would highly recommend it for your team, come up with a code of ethics, your team's code of ethics. Not just the mission, why are we here, not just the overarching goals, what are we going to do, but the third step, a complete code of ethics. How are we going to behave toward each other? An ethical statement. Usually I recommend 10 statements of ethics. The 10 commitments, I call them. How are we going to behave toward one another? Obviously, diversity would have a lot to do with what the code of ethics are. Accepting others and their divergent points of view. Accepting differences and appreciating those differences. So in conclusion today, I would like to just share with you a story I heard about a Zen monk and two students who were constantly causing the monk a lot of problems because they're always testing the Zen monk. One of the students said to the other one, tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the monk and I'm going to have a bird in my hand. And I'm going to say, Master, is the bird in my hand alive or is it dead? If the master says it's alive, I'll crush the bird and show him a dead bird. If the master says the bird is dead, I'll open my hand and let the bird fly away. Well, the next morning, the students were there. There was the Zen monk. One student says, Master, is the bird in my hand alive or is it dead? The master just touched the top of his hand. He said, the fate of that bird is in your hand. The fate of this organization is in our hands. Let's open them up and let's let it fly. God bless you. Thank you very much.